Hello and welcome to the webinar on a journey through the seas of promotion and tenure at the University of Florida. I'm Angel Kwalik-Foland and I'm the Associate Provost for Academic and Faculty Affairs at the University.
And I'm Janet Malfers, Assistant Director of Academic Personnel and Human Resource Services.
Together between us, Janet and I manage the promotion and tenure process for the university. And we want to talk to you today about that process, and in particular we want to highlight for you the online system that you'll be working with as a candidate and also as a faculty reviewer. There are a lot of people that can help you with the process of promotion and tenure and with the online system. We recommend that you start with the people that are closest to you, most easily accessible, and that would be your chair, your college associate dean, or your college or departmental OPT contact. And we have a list of those on the web, and the URL is there on the screen for you. You can always call Janet or myself or email Janet or myself if you have additional questions. But usually your local person will be a really good resource for you and normally a lot easier to get to than trying to call one of us.
And you also have sources of information. As you can see on the screen there, you have several websites that you can go to and links that you can go to for sources. The main one that I want to discuss with you right now is the Provost link there, www.aa.ufl.edu tenure. If you don't remember the other ones listed there, if you go to this link, you will be able to get information about the online promotion and tenure system as well as promotion and tenure guidelines. I do want to remind you to please make sure you have the most recent guidelines. We publish those every year. They don't change that much from year to year, but then again, you need to make sure you have the most recent one as well as your department. As well as going to your college website. That is where you will find deadlines for your department as well as your college. Thank you.
The promotion and tenure and permanent status process uses an online system, OPT, short for Online Promotion and Tenure, also short for optimistic. And as a faculty member, you can interact with the OPT system in three different ways. In the first instance, faculty can upload data into the self-service modules, and any faculty member can do this at any time. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. If you're a faculty reviewer during the tenure and promotion process itself, you'll be able to interact with the system to view the candidates' dossiers. And if you're a candidate, you will have access to the template in the online system. You'll be able to upload documents, view all the packet actions, view everything in your packet all the way through the process. Very transparent system. The key is that all documents that are uploaded into the system during the candidate review process have to be uploaded as PDF files. There are some sections in the template that will auto-populate from a variety of data sources around campus, but much of what's in there will be uploaded directly as a PDF. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of these distinctions as we go along. The packet itself contains several different kinds of documents and information. The first is the template. This is a Microsoft Word file that is saved as a PDF and uploaded separately as the template. It's accessible through the MyUFL process to any faculty. You don't need a role to go in and download the template and put information into it. And it is a Word file, so it's pretty much infinitely expandable. You can type in there whatever you want according to the directions that are in the template. Then there are also documents that will be uploaded either by, well, most of them by your departmental administrator. These will be your annual evaluations, the criteria for promotion and tenure in your department or college, bio-sketches of your external evaluators, and so on. You always want to be sure, though, that when someone else uploads anything into your file, that you check it for accuracy and make sure that it is indeed appropriate and correct for your file. You'll also find in there letters from your chair and dean and the external evaluators. The external evaluation letters will be visible to you in the system if you have not waived your right to see them. And as I hinted earlier, the candidate is responsible for the accuracy of the packet contents. So be sure to check anytime something is uploaded in there. Section 33 is a very important section. It'll remain open for additions throughout the process, and that's the place where if you get something published during the course of the year, or you get a notification you've gotten a grant, or any of those kinds of changes that are important to your process, that's where you will upload a PDF certifying that that has indeed happened.
Okay, here are some general packet instructions. Of course, the contents prescribed by the template. You have sections 2 through 33. That will be the faculty members' packets, and those instructions in the template are very self-explanatory to where you would know what to put there. You would need to use NA or none. Please do not have any blank sections. So if you have a section that is non-applicable to you, you would put NA there. Use the packet holistically. Evaluators will look for an overall understanding of your contributions. You need to work with your chair on creating a 50-50 list of evaluators from peer or better institutions. Most should not have a personal or co-author status with you. Helps the chair understand and contextualize your work.
The process here takes almost a year from start to finish, and the cycle begins in right about springtime, April, May, June, prior to the year that you're actually going up, as you work with your chair to create a list of evaluators, and then over the summer the chair solicits those evaluative letters from the external people who are going to be looking at your file. Your role during that time is to prepare your template and get all the materials lined up that need to go into the template. Once you're done with that and you've worked with your departmental administrator to make sure that everything is accurate and correct, the packet will be certified, and at that point it'll be open to reviewers in your department. It then moves through a process of the review by the department faculty, by your chair, who will upload a letter, and that usually comes along in October, early November. Then your college committee will look at it. Then it will go to the dean for putting a letter in the packet. That usually happens sometime in December, early January. Then the academic personnel board begins their review in late January normally, and they run through April, sometimes into early May, depending on how many packets there are. The provost and president will be reviewing the files in late spring, so April and May, and the president will approve any promotion decisions in probably May, and then will make any recommendations to the Board of Trustees for tenure. The Board of Trustees normally takes up tenure approvals in their June meeting, which usually occurs sometime in the early part of June. So that's the annual review cycle, and you will be able to see all the parts of that process as they go along by looking in the OPT system. Before the packet goes to your faculty reviewers, you need to be sure that it's complete and accurate. And we recommend that you work offline with your departmental OPT administrator and mentors to create the final version of your packet. The OPT allows you to put things in and have them recertified and sent back to you, but it's a very kind of clunky and awkward way to do it. Each time anything is put into the system, a record is kept of that was there. And so it works a lot better to do all of that effort offline. And then when you and your departmental administrator are happy with the template and all the materials in it, and it's accurate and ready to go, then it can be put up into the system and certified to go forward. So be sure to take the time to make sure that your version is free from all kinds of typos and errors and grammatical mistakes and inaccuracies. Anything like that that's in there is going to reflect badly on you because it is your packet.
Okay, additions to the packet. Some materials can be added to the packet at any stage. Nothing is added without the candidate's knowledge in the OPT system because it requires the candidate to approve any additions that she or he does not make, except for the results of the departmental and college assessments, the chair's and dean's letters, and any academic personnel board queries. The candidate can add materials in Section 33 at any time using the OPT system. You need to make any corrections, deletions, or additions in Section 33. Remember, the original items in your packet that you certified at the time that you certified before it was given to the faculty reviewers in your unit will not be open for any changes. Everything has to be done in Section 33.
If for any reason a question about your packet arises during the review process, you need to be available to respond. You can follow the status of your packet, as I said, through OPT. While it's at the department or college level, most queries would probably come from your departmental administrator or possibly the college administrative staff. Once it goes to the university level, any of the queries that come will come through the OPT system itself. That is, you will receive an email that says whatever the thing is that you need to respond to. And responses will need to be uploaded as a PDF. So if the question asks, how many graduate students have you graduated in the last 10 years, that wasn't clear from your packet, you'll want to make a little Word file that says, I graduated 21 as the chair of PhD and 5 as masters or whatever it may be. Save that as a PDF and then upload it into your packet as a response to the inquiry. So please keep an eye out for any emails from the OPT system during the cycle year, and do be sure to respond to those emails. Packets can be withdrawn at any stage in the process, and there's no penalty for withdrawal in case of promotion or tenure prior to the end of the tenure probationary period. People withdraw for a lot of different reasons. Normally it happens because your packet, it turns out, or your case is not as strong as you thought it was, and maybe it gets to the college and it looks like it's not going to be successful, and so you talk with your chair and determine that it makes sense to withdraw and come up another time. That's perfectly okay to do that. We don't keep track of people who withdraw and, hold you accountable later for having withdrawn from the process. However, if you're in the last year of your tenure probationary period, you have two choices. You either have to withdraw and resign, which requires the agreement of your department chair, or you take the official tenure denial. In both of those cases, assuming you'd been here at least 3 years, you would have a 1-year notice period. So there's no difference in terms of withdrawing at that stage in the tenure process or taking the tenure decision. Let's talk a little bit about the Academic Personnel Board. It's in some ways one of the most mysterious parts of the process because it's the one that's the farthest away from most of us as faculty. The board is advisory to the president, and unlike at the other levels, its recommendations are always made by consensus. That is, there is no assessment or calculation of vote or anything like that. Each case that is called or raised a question about is discussed at least once. The APB has 10 members now. This is new in the 2014-15 cycle. 5 of those are elected by the Senate, 5 are appointed, and then there is the Vice President for Research, who serves on the board. I am the secretary for the APB, and so I make sure all the paper moves around, but I don't play an evaluative role in the process. All of the individuals are senior faculty or distinguished professors. It's divided up according to what you can see on the screen in terms of the areas of the university for representation. And we also have 2 teams. The orange team processes and reviews all of the tenure track titles. The blue team processes and reviews all of the non-tenure track titles. As I suggested earlier, the APB meets between about January and May for a couple of hours a week. And they hear somewhere between 190 and 240, 50 cases. It varies each year a little bit. They also look at the distinguished professors, although that's an award and not a promotion. And they do all of the assistant ins that are covered by the bargaining agreement. The average packet is about 60 pages long, so it's a lot of work that this group does. And they review things very, very carefully. They look at all aspects of the packet and do a very, very thorough job. They may have a question, and if they do, they will ask me to put the question into the system, and the question can go to the candidate, to the chair, or the dean, depending on the nature of what's being asked. And you will see, as a candidate, a copy of that question when it goes forward. I wanted to make some general observations about the process. There are three general categories for evaluation: teaching, research, and service. We also have clinical in the health sciences, and IFAS has an extension section as well. But generally speaking, the main categories are research, teaching, and service, and clinical and the extension part are in some ways folded into how we think about teaching, research, and service, although they're talked about separately. Tenure, if you're going up for tenure, requires distinction in at least two areas. Normally these are teaching and research. Your college and department should have some clarifying guidelines on what the criteria are for going up for the different levels of promotion or tenure. In terms of timing, if you're on a tenure track appointment, at the midpoint of your probationary period, you will get a complete midterm review. That normally includes a review by a committee in your department and also a review by the dean of the college. It might also include a look by the college promotion and tenure committee. There's some variety across campus about that. Basically, this will be feedback to you as an individual on how you're doing towards tenure. You have to be nominated for tenure by the beginning of the last year of your tenure probationary period. That's the outer limit. But you can put yourself up for earlier consideration. I always recommend, if you're going to do that, that you spend some time talking with your chair and with your faculty mentor about your readiness for the process. There's no stigma, again, attached if you go up early and it turns out you weren't quite as ready as you had hoped. But it is a lot of work for your colleagues. It's a lot of work for those external reviewers. So you want to be as sure as you can that you are indeed ready to go forward. It's very important, whether you're talking about tenure or promotion or permanent status, that you are able to demonstrate the impact of the work that you're doing. The expectations for tenure and promotion from one level to another are different in degree rather than in kind, but there are differences. The evaluators on campus will address different pieces of your file or different contexts for your scholarship or activity. They'll be looking at your impact on the department, on the college, the university, whether you've had a national or international impact, what the level of your international or national recognition is, what kind of impact you've made on your discipline, your teaching, and how extensive it is to the extent that you're involved in graduate programs, if that's appropriate given your particular faculty title and so on. We also know that the evidence of scholarly impact varies somewhat from discipline to discipline, and usually the criteria account for that, take that into consideration. Certainly the evaluators do when they look at it. If you're in a field that's predominantly driven by refereed articles, that will be more important than if you're in a field that's predominantly book-driven, for example. One last observation in that regard. It's very important that you translate your work from whatever your disciplinary field is into a broader context. This is not the time that you want to demonstrate you're really good at knowing your jargon. This is the time when you want to be speaking to a very highly educated but non-specialized audience about what it is that you do and helping them to understand the importance and impact of your work. So it's very, very important that you spend some time thinking about that, and when you talk about it in your packet, make sure that what you say is clear to people who are non-specialists. Let's take a look now inside the OPT system itself and what's possible within that system. Make a transition here to the OPT system. This is how you would log into the system itself. You would access MyUFL, type in your username, your password, and you would go to Main Menu. And as a faculty member, if you just want to go in and enter data or anything like that, you would take Main Menu, My Self-Service, Faculty Promotion and Tenure, and you will see this screen. This allows you to identify a designee editor. Mine happens to be Janet, who she can put things into my file for me if I ask her to really, really nicely.
Very nicely.
Very nicely. And to do that, you simply click here, either put in the UFID number or do a search to find the individual's name and save it. You can change this as many times as you like, but you can only have one designee editor at a time. This can be especially useful if you want to have someone go in and put data into the publication or some of the other online self-help systems. This also allows you to go in and open up the promotion and tenure packet, which is the Word file that I mentioned earlier. The packet template with activity can be generated by clicking on this button. If you are a candidate for promotion, tenure, or permanent status, this button would be activated and you would be able to click it and go inside the system itself. Let's open up the packet template with activity. You can see that it's working over here, and it's telling me that the pop-ups are blocked because I forgot to disable that, so I'm going to just allow it. It's always a good idea to go ahead and disable the pop-ups. We're going to try it again. I've told it to allow it to do that this time, so it should open. Here's our file. We're just going to open it up, take a look at it so you can see what it looks like. This is the template. As I mentioned, it's a Word file. You can go in and type in all the things you need. Throughout the template, you will see there are instructions on an email address that you can contact if you have questions or if anything needs to be changed. This also will populate certain areas. For example, it pulls from HR what my particular personal education history is. If there's anything incorrect in that, you can go here and ask the person at the other end, which happens to be Janet, to fix that for you. We've actually found this often is out of date.
It's very much out of date. And what we find is that at the time of the person's hire, we were able to confirm the highest degree that they received for that discipline that they were hired into, but then they've gone on beyond that and received another degree and forgot to let HR know. Your department may know, but we do not know. So it's very imperative to you that you check this out, but also let us know in HR, because even if you just decide that you want to just put the information in this section here and not let us know, 2 or 3 years down the road, if you're trying to go out there back into OPT, the data is going to still be wrong.
So always try to correct the data at the source wherever possible. This also will put in any of the teaching evaluations that are in the online system, get pulled directly into the template. And it also pulls in all of your graduate records from the graduate information system. So that's a handy feature. Okay, I'm going to close that out and go back now to the main screen. And once you are able to get in, I would highly recommend that you go to the section on the main page that allows you to put information into the system itself, which is right down here at the bottom. If you go into this screen, you'll find a whole list of areas that you can actually put information in yourself. We have one for patents and software and copyrights, and I invented one that I don't actually have because I'm not a scientist, about strawberries. And if you want to add a patent or software or copyright, you just go in here and you'll have a screen and you pick whatever the type is, and then you'll have a drop-down menu that will allow you to put the information in. You can cut and paste into these sections, and you can also include notes here that you can type in yourself, And if you want these included in the printout when it goes to the Word file, you just check the little box and it will do so. Or you can uncheck and the notes will not appear in the main file. This will actually allow you to view what you have in your list as a part of the Word file. This is what the screen would look like, or what your file would look like, with the materials that are auto-populated into it. This is how it produces them. Okay, let's go back to our main screen. I want to show you also publications. This is very similar. You can add a publication by starting with the publication type, and it will give you a set of screens to fill in. If you have an article, refereed publication, let's say, and you need more than one author, you simply add lines and fill in the names as you go. You're also allowed several different possibilities for relationships you might have with your co-authors that you can click on and that will show up. You're able to cut and paste into this as well if you prefer doing it that way rather than typing it in. You can put it into this work list area and then take it from here and fill it in down here. And your co-author status is also included here, and you can indicate whether you have a senior author or not. And then you save and return to the publication list. Okay. All right, let's go back to the main screen again. We also have a section on presentations. This is packet section 17. Very similar to the others. You add, this is the list that I've put in of my presentations, and you add them by simply going here and selecting the venue, the presentation status, whether it's invited or refereed or other, the type of presentation that it was, the dates, the title, the sponsoring organization, and so on. And again, you can indicate whether you were the sole individual involved or whether you had others that were working with you, for example, a graduate student or something like that. Save it, and these will all print out into the template if you have put them in. And one final self-service module, Honors, which works very much the same way. You click here and you will have, in this case, you will have a list of predefined honors and awards that is probably bigger than anybody could even believe. There's over 3,000 awards in there, which still doesn't include everything. And it's only national and international awards, and many of us have local or other kinds of awards that would also be something we'd want to add, and you can do that. But you can also begin by selecting from the pre-selected list if you want to, or just typing in your own. You can search by name. For example, in one of my fields, in this case, you get two choices, and then you can simply click on one of them, and it will add it to your file. Or you can simply, as I said, select type my own, and put everything in on your own. It's a very simple choice. All right, we'll get out of this system now and go back into our PowerPoint. Just exit from this, just as you would any other MyUFL process. Janet?
Okay, so this is the OPT packet tab as a candidate. This is when you get into OPT and you go and get into your packet and you go to the faculty events, online promotion and tenure, and you will see your faculty packet. You'll also be able to view the P&T criteria that was uploaded by your department admin, then your chair's letter, dean's letter, the sample letter, bio sketches, and letters of evaluation if you have access to those, if you have waived your rights. Then you will be able to see your annual evaluations and any further information. One of the things that I do want to tell you is, again, you as a candidate will be able to know if someone has added anything to your packet because, again, there are emails that go to you as a candidate. So be very sensitive to be watching out for emails from OPT.
Let's talk a little bit about all the various sections in the packet and what's included in them. And Janet has been working with these packets for many years, and she's going to talk a little bit about some of the sections that seem to cause people the most difficulty. So we won't be covering all the sections, but just the ones that seem to cause the most problems.
Yes. As you know, in the packet itself, there are sections 2 through 33. And again, as Dr. Angel Collick-Folin was saying, I have been reviewing these cases for many, many years. And even though we do workshops, it just seems like these sections seem to be the ones that I still find errors. So your first one that I have is section 4. Again, we have your years of service here, and the dates are there for you. And in each section, you should indicate your effort on teaching, research, service, extension, and clinical there. Okay. You will include your UF assignment only. Please do not change the 5 category labels that are there. You would indicate 0% if one or more is not relevant to you. You need to make sure you round all the percentages. Do not list anything as 15.5 or 2.2%. It's an average of your assigned effort. Indicate if you're on any sabbaticals or leave of absences during the academic year. The way you can do that is by a footnote under section 4 and put an asterisk in the year as well as in the category that you were on that sabbatical or leave of absence, and just indicate that. Section 9, in no more than 750 words, and again, we know that we have a limit on this, and you should really try to adhere to the 750 word limit if possible. We don't get upset if you go over a little bit, but don't make it pages and pages. You need to describe your teaching, advising, your professional responsibilities if you're a librarian, and any instructional accomplishments that you have. Of course, your syllabi, course examinations, and other materials used in the classroom instruction should be made available at all levels for review as needed or as requested. You never include them in the packet in this section, but again, you want to make them available. Your department admin will be able to tell you how that can be done. And if you have places that need to be stored, they're usually in a big old crate or a box. But again, it's your responsibility to have that information available to any reviewers that may ask for it.
Before we move on to the next section, Janet, let me just add that what goes out to the external reviewers may not be exactly the same as what's in this particular system. Some departments will send the template itself, but other departments simply send a CV, which is fine. There will always be materials that the external evaluators or your colleagues in your department will be looking at, such as articles you've written or books you've written or perhaps videos of dance performances. But none of those extra materials, as Janet points out, get uploaded into this system. They do need to be available. Someone in the college office might want to see something. Someone in the APB or the provost might want to see something. But don't worry about the fact that all of that material is not in the system itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, section 10A. This is the section where you would indicate the teaching evaluations. Again, this is an auto-populated field here. There's no need to add a summary table unless your college requires one, so you need to make sure you check with your college on that. When it uploads from the auto-populate from the evaluation system, of course, here's what it will look like. You would need to make sure that you indicate if the course was required or not, and if it was team taught, the percentage that it was team taught, that it's not come over.
Yeah, you can just type that in yourself.
So you have 10A, which are the teaching evaluations, and 10B are the peer evaluations. You would put any peer evaluation of your teaching in this section if available. These are not required by all units. You need to check with your college. We do know that CALS, IFAS, they do require that, okay? So be sensitive to check that out. So you may be a faculty member that's coming up early for tenure at the University of Florida, which we do allow that. And if so, you could have teaching evaluations from another institution that you could put here in this section or in section 33. We do ask you, though, that if you put it in this section here, that you have the UF teaching evaluations that come first, and then have another heading that says 10C, teaching evaluations from University of California. Okay, that way we will know that those are there. Section 11, this is the educational portfolio. Again, in some units, the faculty may develop portfolios in which they document the excellence in their educational scholarships, leadership, and service. You have this with your faculty that are lecturers whose primary job or assignment is teaching, that may include in this section their samples of their materials that document the instructional accomplishments that they described in Section 9. If either of these categories don't apply to you, this is what you would put an NA. This is where that you would put an NA here. Okay. Section 13, this is a contribution to discipline research narrative. Again, we ask in no more than 750 words. It's okay to go over a little, but not a whole lot. Explain your research creative contribution to your discipline. So you're going to describe overall, briefly, the area within which your research creative program falls and how your publications, that's in Section 16, your creative works, your research projects, your grants, your fellowships, your extension works, etc., how all that reflects your research program, creative program, and your achievements that you've had. You need to also make sure you address the quality of the journals in which you publish and the impact of your research creative program here. We don't want any copies of any supporting materials in this section. Again, they should be made available offline, and this includes any reviews of your performances, any newspaper or journal reviews of your work, photos of artwork or performances, any published articles, or any other supporting documentation. Section 15, patents and copyrights agreements. I'm going to, a little shameless plug here, if you use the self-service module, and if you're a new faculty member starting out, being hired here at the University of Florida, and you know that you have 4 or 5 years before you're going to be coming up and putting together your packet, you can start out there in the self-service module indicating this information. That way, when it's time for you to go do your OPT template, it'll download in the format that we ask. But if not, this is where you would put this in the packet, Section 15. Section 16, again, the publications, as we said earlier, there is a self-service module. And again, it will auto-populate in the template for you in the correct order. If not, you would add the publications according to the sections listed in the template, which are sections A through K. We would want all sections listed, even if you have none to report. Each section specifies the type of publication. Also, in the Section 16 are the publications, you would use Section 33 for your acceptance letters and information on submitted or forthcoming publications. Books that are under contract but have not yet been completed or accepted are to be listed in Section 33. You also need to note that a contract from a publisher is not sufficient to claim a book is accepted or in press. We do not want to see thesis or dissertations in the publication listing. One word of reminder for you about your acceptance letters that are in Section 33. Please make sure that you put the name of the article at the top. That way we can make sure that in Section 16, when we see that that book is in, or that referee publication has been accepted or in press, we can go back in that area and find that article and not have to be reviewing everything in that Section 33, and it makes it very easier for the reviewers at the faculty level, their college level, and then, of course, up here at the Academic Personnel Board. Section 18, contracts and grants. Wow. So we have sections A through D. A, external funding. B, internal. C, submitted, pending. D, submitted, not funding. Even if you have none to report, you're going to have all those sections listed there. External or internal section provides space to summarize or explain your contract and grant. If your area has other forms of funding, your college office will provide instructions for adding that section, i.e. engineering. That area and that college there has other forms of funding as well. So then A and B, which are your external funding and your internal funding, each entry should include the effective date of that contract and grant, the value, the name of the agency, the role, PI, co-PI, senior personnel, investigator, or sponsor. Do not change the roles. Do not include any other roles on this list. If you have a question about contracts and grants that you do not understand, you should go to your department admin, who then should work with your chair. If they are not able to answer the question for you, again, Dr. Angel Pollock-Folan and I are here, as well as your college office also. Okay. You need to make sure you put the amount of the grant dollars for the total grant and that accrued to the candidate. We do not want percentages. We want money. Provide that total for both. Here's a chart for external grants, if you can see, where someone is a PI for NSF, and it's a $200,000 award, and the candidate allocation of that is $200,000. He got all that money. So if that had only been 50% of that, it'd been $100,000, but we would not want to see 50% of that in that candidate allocation. Okay. Section 18 also, C and D, submitted, pending, and not funded. You still need to provide a list of the grants here and include the date of the submission and any other relevant information. Include if this is a resubmission, that's very important as well. On section D, make sure you have the submission, the proposal, the name, and indicate any resubmissions. Remember again, all subcategories A through D, even if you have nothing to report. Section 22. So here, in this section, it's a narrative now, okay? It used to be that we had it and you put just little bullet points here. But now we want it to be narrative and briefly describe teaching, research, and service activities in light of their significance to your scholarly career. Include your rationale and goals for engagement in the international activities that you have and any outcomes or impact resulting from this. We do not say an amount. We don't say 750 words here. We should limit it to about that. This also allows you to summarize and attach the significance of all this that relates to your international activities. In some of the areas in your packet, you may indicate that you had lectures and speeches that were international or some other information. Again, we don't want you to put everything from those sections in this area, but again, describe how all this that you got in your packet kind of puts a significance to your scholarly career here.
Yeah, so this is one of the few sections in the packet, really, where you can kind of talk twice about something. All those other things, as Janet mentioned, that you've listed under publications or talks or patents or whatever it may be, this is an opportunity to pull all of that together and tell us why, as a whole, those have made a significant impact internationally.
So Section 33, again, is where we would see such things as your letters of acceptance, submitted publications, information on your forthcoming books, any unsolicited letters of recommendation, which those should really be limited, and we need to really make sure that they are labeled as such. And then, of course, restricted to any professional or thank you letters. Again, this is also where you would indicate your additions or changes to your packet once you certified it for review.
Okay. Well, I think that pretty well covers most of the main issues. Let me just make a few remarks in closing. It's very important that you keep your records up to date annually. If you want to put the things that you can into the database for OPT, that's wonderful. But if you don't do that for whatever reason, do be sure to keep track of what you do. You don't want to find yourself at the point where you have to put your packet together for tenure or promotion, and you've got several years worth of materials that you can't find or you don't know what you did with them. So keep your records up to date as you go each year. Be sure to talk with your chair, your mentors, and the college office about the expectations for you, whether it's for promotion or tenure. Do as much as you can to understand the criteria in your particular area. Know about how your department and college handle their particular process. These are all very important, partly because you want to make sure you do it right, but also because it helps to take a little bit of the anxiety and mystery out of the process. As Janet said earlier, be sure that you are using the most recent guidelines and requirements. We usually release those every year along about early April. So each year you should put a little flag on your calendar for early May to go in and check the new guidelines for this year. They don't change very much from year to year, but if something has changed, we want to make sure that you've got it and you're not using an outdated piece of information. As Janet noted earlier, if you find something in the template when you open it up that is outdated, be sure to go to the source to correct it directly. That's much preferable than every time you open it up having the wrong, inaccurate data coming into the system. And finally, be sure to take ownership of the packet. It is yours and it will reflect on you. Make sure before you upload it for certification that it's accurate and as complete as you can make it, that there are no typos or other kinds of messiness in the packet itself. That's a very important piece. You want your packet to look as professional as you are. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck in your process for promotion and tenure.
Yes, thank you. And if you have any questions, of course, I'm available. And
so am I.
Thank you.